You're watching Rock and Roll Rugby, and yes, in today's one we actually, oh man, I've struggled with this one. It's been going back and forth in my head, you know. I think if there's going to be a close matchup of heavyweights for the first week, this is the one between the All Blacks and the French. And why it is for me so tough is both teams are struggling with injuries. Both teams play a similar type game when it comes to, you know, running type flair type game, kind of wanting to run the ball and have quick ball, you know, move the ball quick. But yeah, I mean, just looking at injuries, you know, France has now gotten, obviously Intermac was the first to be out, which Jellybear is okay to step in there, but then Dante, another, that centre, and what he does is very influential for France. He's really good. Yeah, then Paul Willems. There's been a lot of injuries of late coming through for them. So yeah, that just and then on the All Black side, you think, okay, it's then that gives the All Blacks a better opportunity. But then big knock for the All Blacks to hear Shannon Frizzell's out. We know Retallick's out. Yeah, man. It's both teams have got some serious injury issues, which I think levels out the playing field and puts it at a place again where I'm like, from a All Black perspective, I went back a little bit more when they played against the Springboks at home. Although this is not at home, so I don't know what you take from it. But why I wanted to do that is I think it was a bit of a disappointing performance in the last game by the All Blacks, and I think they were just totally off their game because the Springboks just the amount of defensive pressure that they were able to put onto the All Blacks made them not play their natural game. I don't think France is the same type of team when it comes to their defense structures. I don't think they'll press that hard, which means that the All Blacks will have more of an opportunity to also play their natural type game, which is they need some space, you know, because they're also very dangerous from a backline perspective. So the first one here we're looking at is just the line now, just generally looking at France now, and what I'm trying to see is just generally from a defense perspective, a rolling maul perspective. You know, I felt that France against Scotland was pretty strong with the rolling maul defense. So they come with a really good rolling maul defense. I think it would be very evenly matched if we had to look at the rolling maul defense between the two teams. We know that the All Blacks and Jason Ryan also prides himself in a good rolling maul defense. From a backline perspective in defense, they've shown some gaps. I mean, if you see, they also leave a lot of space out wide. So if you can spread the ball quickly, they seem to leave a lot of space with the defense structures. So if you look at this, that first try that they conceded against Scotland was easy. It was an easy try, and it was poor defense by them. So they also, from time to time, you know, you can see from the defense backline point of view, it is not always ideal, and they do make some mistakes from time to time in the back line in their defence. Obviously, Scotland, a team that like the quick ball, and that's something that the All Blacks also like. Now, you're looking at the French on the rolling maul. They got some momentum, but also couldn't take it all the way. Good defence there by Scotland, but they've got a decent rolling maul going. Again, I don't think necessarily bad, but not necessarily something outstanding. Then I think what something that they're really good at is at the breakdown. France is really good to get over the ball. So as soon as someone's tackled, they're very good to get over the ball very quickly, and it's something that they're pretty decent at. From a scrummaging point of view, you know, they can stand their ground, and I think they'll be good at the scrums. I think the scrums could be tight. New Zealand might have a little bit on them on the day, but then again, New Zealand suffering some injuries, so I don't know if that's going to affect New Zealand. We see this beautiful set move that they were able to pull off against Scotland, and yeah, if the French play from set piece, they seem to have very good backline moves. So I just don't think it'll be as easy against the All Blacks. The All Blacks will be a bit more aggressive with their attack, where I feel Scotland left France to run the ball quite often with a lot of space. One thing that's the most important from a France point of view will be Antoine Dupont, because he's just... The thing with him is he's so quick to distribute the ball. So, France is not the type of team to play too many phases. You'll never often see them go 6-7 phases. They play 1 to 2 phases and then distribute the ball. And if you see there the kind of space that Dupont was given against Scotland, it is something that the All Blacks would have to look at. You see how they play it back to Dupont, and constantly they're leaving so much space for him. Look how he's looking around to have a lot of time on the ball to make decisions. I don't think the All Blacks will allow quite Dupont to have that much time on the ball, and I hope it's going to be one of their strategies. I would have wanted a Fazal in that team just because of the fact of marking a Dupont. But yeah, definitely from a Scotland defensive point of view, I felt they did not put enough pressure on Dupont, and he's the key. He's the guy that you need to shut down. You need to be on him all the times. There should be at least one forward always hunting him down. You should have that kind of communication in your defense to say you go for him, because someone should always shut him down, because he is the biggest playmaker there is on the field for France, and absolutely a weapon. If they're going to allow that guy to get too much running time on the ball, the All Blacks, you will have some trouble. Pont here, you thought he would go to the open side. He breaks away on the blind side. Such a vision for rugby. He knew that it was on for him. And, Pinot, another really, really good wing at the moment. Just the ability to score, the flair that he runs with. Yeah, another example of Dupont. Just look how deep he gets that ball. Loads of space to run. And Dupont loves the blind side. So you really, really need to have a good blind side flanker. You have to have... your loose forwards need to be awake at all times. Because Dupont, the quick tap, moving the ball quickly... he's at that ruck within a second. And he just plays the ball so quickly. He speeds up the game. And I think for the All Blacks, they would want to slow it down a bit. The All Blacks also like quick ball, but I don't think they like quick ball on the fence. And they're going to have to. I think the All Blacks have got the ability when it comes to the forwards to slow the ball down. And this is something that's going to be important. Look how they use him as first receiver instead, Dupont as first receiver instead of the fly half, and then play it back to him with the loop around. Everything evolves around Dupont. It's very similar to what you have with Russell for Scotland. And if the All Blacks can make a point out of it to really mark Dupont, it could really get the French a bit flustered. On the other end, if Dupont gets space to run like he was able to do against Scotland, he's going to create opportunities. This guy is definitely the best scrum half in the world, without a doubt. And a playmaker of a different sort. He doesn't play your typical 9 role. He almost plays a 10 role in a 9 jersey. But so good. So good. From a defense point of view, I really think the French usually pretty good with their defense. Very committed. This is one of those examples where Scotland broke away, but you see how they chase the players down, so they don't just miss the tackle and give up. Very similar to the All Blacks. The All Blacks are also a team that, from a defense point of view, are just they will do everything they can to defend. Another thing that I think France does extremely well is broken play, just like the All Blacks. So there you could see, tried a little kick through. And on the broken play and the counter attack is where they're so dangerous. Now, that's exactly the same as the All Blacks. The All Blacks will do exactly the same to you. You have a little kick, you make a mistake, and they capitalize on that. And here you can see it happen from a French point of view. They capitalize on that broken play, and immediately counter-attack. Now, this is what I'm going to be so excited for in this game. I think between the All Blacks and the French, the counter-attacks, I think it's going to be a lovely game. It's going to be a running game. It's going to be a big occasion. And man, it's going to be awesome to watch. I think for the All Blacks, they've never lost a pool match in the history of World Cups. So the pride in that All Black jersey, here we can see the scrum. The pride in that All Black jersey, and the French looking pretty solid in their scrums. Going back to the pride of the All Black jersey is going to be a big thing for the All Blacks. And I don't think you'll see the same team as in that warm-up game against the Springboks. On the other end, you've got the French. They're playing in front of their home nation. It's the opener of the World Cup. So both these teams have got so much to play for, and I think they both just we're gonna see beautiful running rugby. That's what I expect. And you can see even if it's not the pond, it's always someone in that French team that distributes the ball quickly. Quick ball is what they do. And the Fijians struggled with that at times because of the quick ball that they could play. If there's a breakdown, they often get it out as quick as possible. And I think it's such similar styles of type rugby between the All Blacks and the French in that sense that, man, it's going to be a back and forth, and it's going to come down to the team with the best defense. And I sometimes have to lean towards the All Blacks just a little bit more. And here you can see, I mean, Dante over that ball. This is the thing with Dante. You know, you're going to miss Dante. They're going to miss Dante, the French, in that team, because he was such a good jackler as well. He's such a good jackler. And it's a big loss for the French not having Dante there. Then just watching, I'm just trying to show that from an All Black perspective, their rolling maul defense is outstanding. And you got to feel the All Blacks just seem a little bit stronger than the French when it comes to their forwards. Even with those injuries, I've got to feel that the All Blacks have just got that little bit of an edge over the French when it comes to the forwards. And the All Blacks, I mean, there's not many teams that stopped that rolling maul from the Springboks, and they were very successful to do it right through the Rugby Championship. So watch the All Blacks when it comes to forward type play. And then, of course, also there's just their general defense. I think, you know, the way they defend their own lines and their commitment to not concede tries is insane. You know, you can see as a good example, you think surely the Springboks will score from here, and somehow they just, you know, is so committed to stop the Springboks. Eventually, sometimes they can score, but it takes a lot from the Springboks to actually break through that line. I just don't know if the French will have the same abilities to break that line from the All Blacks as much. This is what we want to see more of. If you see there, you can see Bodie Barrett breaking that line. That's going to be interesting to see. A poor pass there, and, you know, maybe playing a little bit flat at that point, giving that try away to Orense really, because Orense was in the line. Bodie a bit impulsive, but I think it's because they were under such pressure. Usually if the All Blacks play from a bit more depth and they're not under the same type of pressure defensively, which I don't think the French will do as much, they are such a dangerous team because they run very direct. A guy like Will Jordan, you think one tackle is enough. The guy jumps up on his feet. He's done this more than once, and he will have a second break. And these kind of things is what the All Blacks make them very special. And a guy like Will Jordan will have to be marked. You cannot underestimate this guy's abilities with the ball in hand. And I think the All Blacks are going to have a lot more opportunities to run. And I think they're going to go out there fired up. And we're going to see more true All Black type rugby where they will run it from the back line. They'll probably play it from the pods. You know, they usually play it from their pod of 3 players. But often you'd see a Cody Taylor or a Dane Coles or someone, Xavier, kind of just, you think the pod's going to hit it, but they're just running the decoy line and then pass it back to a Barrett or a Mohanga with the run around in the back line, and they kind of get beautiful moves out of that. I think we'll see more of that. We'll also see more of a Bowden Barrett cut into the line, kind of running the X lines behind the pod, in the boot, running X lines, so running across with the X lines and then basically being able to run decoy lines and confuse the defense. This is something that the All Blacks do very, very well. They run quite complicated lines from time to time. And of course, if you're going to have Bodie Barrett be able to cut into that line with some space, those cross kicks are going to come through. Guys, if you hear some knocking on the videos, that's because someone outside is building a house. It's sometimes hard to not have a soundproof studio. But yeah, that's what I would say with the All Blacks is the All Blacks need to play from a bit of depth. And I think this game might allow them to play a bit of depth. And I think it's going to be, each the hammer and tongs between these two teams. Each team, when they get the possession, they'll want to run it like you see, try and get that ball through their hands. And the same will happen when the French get the ball. Here again, you can see Bodie Barrett with a little kick through. Those kind of things are the things that they would want, what we'd want to see from the All Blacks, because when they play that front foot tie ball, the little dabs through, that's when they're dangerous. Geordie Barrett can get those kicks through. Bodie Barrett can get those kicks through. Richie Mo'unga can get those kicks through. So they really have a lot of players that can basically cut into that back line and get those little kicks through behind the back line and run onto the ball. And that gives them that front foot ball. And if they're in that type of form where they're running the straight lines like you see here with Will Jordan, and they're able to get front foot ball, I think the All Blacks can be very dangerous. I could have shown you the last game where the All Blacks really struggled against the Springboks, but I just don't think it would be a fair comparison, because I don't think the French quite defend in the same manner as what the Springboks do with that press defense. The Springboks do it. It's a high risk, high reward type game where if it comes off, it's really great, but if it doesn't come off, it can cost you points. Where the French play a much more structured defense, where they'll come up slower out of the blocks or out of the line. Pretty connected, but slower and kind of more opportunistic to get the tackle and get the jackal over the ball. Pretty much a very similar defense to me, in my opinion, to what the All Blacks would do as well. So very similar in defense, both teams. If I have to compare the backlines, running type rugby, I think if the All Blacks are in full form, I just think they are more dangerous for me than what the French are, especially with Dante not there, being able to do those kind of crash ball type runs. I just feel there's some weapons in that All Black team, and if they get unleashed and they're really having a good game, with their kicking game that they can bring into it, they kind of like decoy runs they do with behind the boot or the pods, and yeah, it's dangerous between Mo'unga and Bodie Barrett coming in on that first receiver. They got a lot of options, and if they just play it right, I really think the All Blacks from a attack perspective might just be a little bit stronger. On the other side, from a French point of view, if Dupont gets enough space and Dupont can run with the ball, the French can be so dangerous. The French have got some serious flair in their game, and they play a different type game, and Dupont is usually instrumental in creating these opportunities. And guys, you have to remember, these guys are playing a World Cup at home. They're going to be playing with a different type of emotion. It's going to be an emotion with everyone behind them in that stadium, so that's got to count for something. And that's why I feel personally, when I'm looking at all of it, I feel the All Blacks are a little bit stronger up front when it comes between the two forward backs. I feel the All Blacks are a little bit stronger when it comes to their backline and the amount of abilities, players with really abilities to do a lot. Now you come with that home advantage, and it being a World Cup, the opener, all those things, so much at stake. The team that ends first, is top of the pool. The team that wins is top of the pool. All that stuff can really influence this game a lot, and it might just be that's what carries the French over the line, just playing with more passion. But at the same time, the All Blacks will be hurting a bit after the last game. They will know they've never lost a pool game, and they'll go out there with a lot of pride and wanting to keep that All Black jersey, you know, not having a loss in a pool game, keeping that record so it's not broken. I know the pride that they'll have in that. So that's where I leave it, guys. I will be giving my predictions on all the games. I'm still, you know, chewing on this one, because as much as I will be supporting the All Blacks right through this World Cup, as much as number one will be the Springboks and number two the All Blacks, I want to give realistic predictions of what I think could happen. But this one, man, I'm back and forth on it. It's tough, because I do feel the All Blacks have got that little bit more in total abilities on the field, but I do feel the French are playing at home, and that emotion and what they're playing for and everything gives them a different type of advantage. So it's going to be interesting for me to call my prediction there. Have a look out for when my prediction video comes out. I appreciate you guys all for watching, the awesome comments that you give me. You're walking this road with me. You'll be walking it with me the whole World Cup if you subscribe. So hit the subscribe button below, and I'm going to catch you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.